Number 1. The Roof of the World. Did you know that Tibet is known as the Roof of the World? This region is entirely situated on the Tibetan Plateau, the highest and largest plateau on the planet. Its area spans approximately 2.5 million square kilometers, nearly equivalent to the total area of all Western European countries combined. The average elevation ranges from 4,500 to nearly 5,000 meters, higher than almost any other inhabited area on Earth. Due to its altitude, Tibet boasts one of the cleanest atmospheres on the planet. The air quality index here typically ranges from 13 to 55. This might be hard to visualize, so let's compare it to Delhi, the capital of India. The index in Delhi often exceeds 500, even reaching as high as 782 at times. This means that Delhi is about 60 times more polluted than Tibet. Anyone accustomed to breathing in Tibet would likely find it difficult to breathe in Delhi. Moreover, scientists refer to Tibet as the third pole of the Earth, following the Arctic and Antarctic. Why is that? Because it is home to over 46,000 glaciers, covering an area of about 105,000 square kilometers. This represents the largest reserve of ice in the world outside the polar regions. And do you know what's even more impressive? These glaciers are the source of more than 10 of the largest rivers in Asia, including the Yangtze, the Mekong, and the Ganges. The river systems originating from the Tibetan Plateau currently provide drinking water and resources for around 2 billion people, nearly a quarter of the global population. In China alone, about 30% of their freshwater comes from these rivers. Oh, and one detail that many people may not know is that Tibet is not an independent country. It is one of 5 autonomous regions of China. However, if you ever set foot here, you will immediately realize that Tibet feels like a completely different world. If you want to know how it differs, keep watching the video. Number 2. The land of oxygen deficiency. Tibet is one of the very few places in the world where you have to pay just to breathe. Here, oxygen is truly more precious than gold. Due to Tibet's average altitude of over 4,000 meters above sea level, the air becomes extremely thin. The amount of oxygen that your body inhales is only about 60% of what it is at sea level. As a result, many travelers who arrive immediately experience altitude sickness, feeling dizzy, having headaches, nausea, and difficulty breathing, as if their lungs are not getting enough air to function. To cope with this situation, in cities like Lhasa, oxygen tanks are available everywhere. Many hotels have oxygen readily available in their lobbies, and some even provide oxygen in the rooms or sell mini oxygen tanks as commonly as they sell bottled water. Interestingly, these services are almost exclusively for outsiders. The native Tibetans have been accustomed to this harsh environment for thousands of years. Their lungs are not only used to it but have also evolved to adapt. Genetic studies show that Tibetans possess a special gene variant known as EPAS1. This gene helps regulate oxygen usage, allowing the body to function efficiently in low oxygen environments. However, reality also proves that humans can never fully withstand nature. No matter how much our genes may adapt, living at such high altitudes is not ideal. In Tibet, there is a village called Tuo Yuan Village, known as one of the places with the lowest life expectancy in the world. The residents here live only about 40 to 45 years due to the extremely harsh natural conditions. According to descriptions, this settlement is located at an altitude of over 5,000 meters above sea level, resulting in very low oxygen levels, combined with cold weather year-round and low pressure, which forces the heart, lungs, and circulatory system to work continuously at high intensity to sustain life. Local authorities have proposed relocating some communities living at such high altitudes to lower areas to improve health and longevity. However, many residents refuse to leave, as they have a deep connection to their ancestral land, where they believe they live closest to the sky and the divine. If you visit Tibet, in addition to preparing mentally for the lack of oxygen, you should also be mindful of the snacks you plan to bring. Tiny cakes, instant noodles, sausages, or vacuum-sealed bags will visibly swell when you cross the 3,000-meter mark. This is because the air pressure in Tibet is only about half that at sea level, causing the air inside food packages to expand in order to balance with the surrounding environment. The higher you go, the more they expand, and at a certain point, they may burst like fireworks. Number 3. Tibetan women are allowed to have multiple husbands. One shocking aspect of Tibet is that women here are allowed to marry multiple husbands. Even more remarkably, these husbands are often brothers from the same family. This is a form of polyandrous marriage practiced by the Tibetan people. Many are surprised when they first hear about this custom, but it has indeed existed, although it is no longer common today. According to this tradition, A girl can be arranged to marry between 2 to 5 husbands, all of whom are brothers. Tibetans believe that having a woman marry multiple brothers from one family helps protect property, preventing land and wealth from being divided or falling outside the clan. This way, the brothers can live harmoniously without disputes over property and also limit the interest of outsiders. In the family, the eldest brother is the primary husband and the main provider. The children born into this polyandrous family do not distinguish who their biological father is. The oldest husband is referred to as father, while the other husbands are called uncle. If the eldest husband passes away, the second husband will then be called father. Today, this custom is no longer widespread, primarily existing in remote areas that are isolated from the outside world. Most regions have been influenced by government campaigns promoting monogamous marriage. Additionally, there are oral stories suggesting that in some distant areas, it was once believed that a girl was only truly eligible for marriage after having romantic experiences with at least 20 men. According to folk understanding, a woman who has attracted the attention of many men is seen as attractive and desirable, while marrying a girl with no prior experience is thought to bring bad luck to the husband. It is said that after each relationship, a girl keeps a small token as a memento, and only when she has collected a certain number of these tokens is she considered mature enough to enter marriage. However, in the sparsely populated highland areas, meeting enough people according to this belief is not easy. Many men marry at a very young age, forcing girls to move through various villages to meet the societal requirements. Today, such beliefs are only sporadically found in a few remote regions and are gradually being challenged. Many social and human rights organizations have called for the abolition of these outdated customs to protect the health, dignity, and rights of women. Number 4. Strange burial practices, unique to Tibet. Never eat fish in Tibet because you never know what they have consumed. The Tibetans have a burial practice known as water burial. According to Tibetan Buddhism, humans are made up of 4 elements: earth, water, wind, and fire. When a person dies, their body needs to be returned to nature. Water burial is the act of returning the water element to the earth. Additionally, it is seen as the final act of charity from the deceased. The body is released into a river to nourish the fish and aquatic creatures, reflecting a connection and compassion for all living beings. Perhaps by now you understand why I advise against eating fish, right? The Tibetans here also have a tradition of not eating fish. They regard fish as sacred beings that help process the bodies of their loved ones and fear that eating fish could mean consuming a part of their ancestors or the deceased. It is noteworthy that water burial is often reserved for those of lower social status, the poor, the homeless, or children. Another common form of burial here is sky burial. In this practice, Tibetans take the body to the mountains for vultures to consume. Specifically, the lamas first chant prayers for the deceased. The body is placed in a sitting position for about a day to perform spiritual rituals. After that, the deceased is washed clean and wrapped in white cloth. During this time, family members must pause all activities, maintain silence, and limit mourning to help the soul depart peacefully. The sky burial ceremony usually takes place at dawn. The deceased is taken to the mountain, where the final rites are performed with the vultures. Tibetans believe that the cleaner the birds eat, the more the deceased can attain liberation. When the birds fly away, their souls ascend to the heavens, along with the wings of the birds. In addition to these 2 burial methods, there are also stupa burials. This is the most formal and respectful form of burial, reserved exclusively for high-ranking lamas, such as the Dalai Lamas, Panchen Lamas, or highly virtuous living Buddhas. After these individuals pass away, their bodies are preserved with precious herbs, salt, and fragrances to maintain their integrity. Finally, the body is placed in a meditative sitting position inside a stupa made of gold, silver, and adorned with precious stones. This stupa becomes a place of worship, where devotees come to pay their respects and receive blessings from the spiritual energy of that master. Have you ever heard of any stranger burial practices? If so, please share in the comments so everyone can gain more knowledge. Number 5. The shocks of arriving in Tibet. In the past, Tibetans only bathed 3 times in their lives. Yes, you heard that right. The first time was at birth, the second on their wedding day, and the last during their funeral. It sounds hard to believe, but this practice stems entirely from the harsh living conditions. With temperatures often dropping below 0 degrees Celsius, taking off clothes to bathe in cold water could pose serious health risks, even life-threatening ones. Moreover, hot water is a luxury, as boiling water requires a lot of fuel, which is extremely scarce in the region, making infrequent bathing quite understandable. However, I mentioned in the past, nowadays, modern Tibetans live in apartments equipped with water heaters and showers. They bathe regularly, just like any other urban residents. In fact, they even have a week-long bathing festival called Gamaraji. During this festival, entire families go to rivers and streams to wash, do laundry, and camp out as a way to cleanse both body and spirit. But the surprises don't stop there. In Tibet, just a little carelessness can lead to poisoning. Many beautiful plants grow across the meadows and mountains, but they can be extremely dangerous. The most notorious is the aconitum plant, known as the queen of poisons, which contains aconitine that can cause heart paralysis. Other species can cause severe burns, blisters, or dermatitis just from contact. It is believed that Tibet's proximity to the sun and its strong ultraviolet rays make the compounds in plants more concentrated and toxic than usual. Therefore, no matter how beautiful the flowers may be, never pick them carelessly. Furthermore, one sight that leaves almost every visitor stunned is seeing Tibetans kneeling down to the ground every few steps, prostrating themselves fully before standing up and continuing on, repeating this process. In reality, this is a common form of practice in Tibetan Buddhism, known as 5 points touching the ground. Each prostration is considered an act of repentance and a way to accumulate merit. In a single day, a pilgrim can perform between 1,000 to 3,000 prostrations. Major pilgrimages often last from 1 to 3 years, covering distances of over 3,000 kilometers, until they reach sacred sites like Lhasa, where the statue of the Buddha is located. Finally, if one day in Tibet someone unexpectedly sticks their tongue out at you, don't panic. It's not a tease or a sign of disrespect. It's a traditional greeting. This ritual dates back to the 9th century during the reign of King Langdharma, a tyrant believed to have a black tongue. When people meet, they stick out their tongues to show that they have a pink tongue, proving they are not a reincarnated demon. Number 6. The truth about the cattle ranching billionaires in Tibet. On the surface, Tibetans may appear quite ordinary and even simple. But there's a saying, don't judge a book by its cover. In reality, Tibetans are quite wealthy. They primarily engage in cattle herding, but not with ordinary cows. These are yak. The average price of a yak is around $2,500, while high-quality male yaks can fetch up to $5,600 each. And guess what? Each household here owns between 50 to 100 yaks. Just from their cattle alone, their assets can range from approximately $125,000 to $560,000. Therefore, in Tibet, if you want to know which household is wealthy, you don't need to look at their house or car. You just need to look at yak dung. It may sound shocking, but it makes perfect sense. Since Tibet has almost no forests and a severe shortage of firewood, dried yak dung becomes the primary fuel source. The dung is dried and shaped into cakes or piles. When burned, it burns evenly, produces little smoke, and has almost no unpleasant odor. Tibetans even believe that cooking with yak dung enhances the flavor of their food, as yaks drink pure spring water and graze on grass from the meadows, giving their dung a very light herbal scent. Not only is yak dung used for fuel, but it is also mixed with mud to build houses, plaster walls, and create animal pens and windbreaks. In many villages, the white walls made from dried yak dung serve both as building material and as a wealth indicator, showing how many yaks a family owns. But that's not the biggest source of income. What truly makes Tibetans quietly wealthy is a globally renowned miracle medicine known as cordyceps. Cordyceps is actually a parasitic fungus that grows on insect larvae, thriving at altitudes between 3,500 and over 5,000 meters. The harvesting season is very short, lasting only a few weeks each year. The average price for this fungus has reached about $42,000 per kilogram, while premium varieties can hit $90,000 per kilogram. Just spending a few weeks each year searching for cordyceps can provide many families with enough money to cover their expenses for the entire year. If you want to know just how wealthy they are, you only need to wait for a wedding. Tibetan weddings are considered among the most extravagant in China. The bride price is not measured by the number of items but by weight. Gold, jade, amber, coral, and even ivory are piled high like mountains. The dowry is not only prepared by the bride's family, but is also contributed by both families, symbolizing the bond between the two clans. The groom's family may even gift the bride land and a herd of yaks. Weddings can last for several days, even a week, filled with dancing, drinking butter tea, and continuous singing. Notably, instead of receiving cash envelopes, the bride and groom throw money into the air for guests to catch. The more money someone catches, the luckier they are considered to be. Number 7. The most mysterious spiritual realm. Are you curious about what the Buddha would look like if he truly existed in human form? many people believe that they are the incarnations of the Dalai Lamas of Tibet. The title Dalai Lama is bestowed upon the supreme spiritual and political leader of Tibetan Buddhism. According to local beliefs, the Dalai Lamas are not only enlightened practitioners, but also manifestations of the Buddha, continuously reincarnating to guide sentient beings out of suffering. Surprisingly, this is not just a tale from legend. The Dalai Lamas here do indeed reincarnate. Historical records indicate that the first Dalai Lama left behind personal belongings and instructions before his passing. A few years later, his disciples identified a 4-year-old boy living in central Tibet who exhibited unusual behaviors. He claimed his name was Peme Dorje, which matched the birth name of the first Dalai Lama. When the monks came to investigate, the boy accurately identified the previous Lama's possessions and understood many Buddhist verses despite never having been taught. He was then taken to the monastery, given the name Gendun Gyatso, and became the second Dalai Lama of Tibet. Since then, each Dalai Lama has left signs or intuitions before passing away to help identify their successor in the next life. This phenomenon of reincarnation remains a spiritual mystery that is still debated and cannot be proven or disproven by modern science. But that is just a small story about this mysterious spiritual land. Additionally, there is a rare phenomenon believed to occur with highly enlightened monks, known as rainbow body. According to this belief, when a monk reaches a very high spiritual state, upon passing, their body transforms into rainbow light and vanishes, leaving no physical remains. Depending on their level of practice, some may completely disappear, while others may leave behind parts of their body, such as hair or nails, or their body may shrink to just a few centimeters. One of the most famous stories related to this phenomenon is that of Lama Khenpo Addo in 1998. When he passed away at the age of 80, it was said that a rainbow appeared throughout the day in the room where he died. A week later, when his disciples opened the cloth covering his body, only a few strands of hair remained, while the entire body had vanished without a trace. Since then, he has been referred to by the people as the Rainbow Lama. Such stories have attracted the attention of many international researchers. However, to date, science has not provided enough evidence to fully confirm or deny these phenomena. Therefore, they continue to be regarded as religious beliefs and spiritual legends, coexisting alongside the modern scientific world. Number 8. The legendary kingdom that Hitler also sought to find. In Tibet, there exists a legend about a kingdom of absolute peace, so mysterious that even Hitler sought to find it. It is said that this kingdom lies somewhere among the snow-capped peaks of the Himalayas and the remote valleys, completely isolated from the modern world. This kingdom is called Shambhala. Shambhala appears in many ancient texts of Tibetan Buddhism and became widely known in the West after the novel Lost Horizon by British author James Hilton. In this work, Shambhala is described as a valley hidden behind mountain ranges, accessible only to those who are guided by secret monasteries. The inhabitants of this place are believed to be untouched by the ravages of time, living unusually long lives, free from war and suffering. In Sanskrit, Shambhala means place of peace or land of tranquility. For Tibetans, it is not just a geographical location, but a symbol of ultimate enlightenment. They believe that Shambhala opens its doors only to those with pure hearts, kindness, and enough serenity to cross the boundary between the material world and the spiritual realm. For centuries, countless explorers have attempted to pinpoint the location of Shambhala, but no evidence has ever proven its existence on any map. Some scholars suggest that Shambhala is not a physical place, but a state of consciousness. Others believe it once existed but has been hidden or buried for thousands of years. What makes this legend even more chilling is that in the 1930s, the Nazi regime under Hitler secretly dispatched expeditions to Tibet in search of Shambhala. These trips were recorded in 1934 and 1938, and all the collected documents are still stored in Germany. According to an agreement between Germany, Britain, and the United States, these records will only be declassified in 2044. Many believe that when that time comes, the world may finally discover whether Shambhala is merely a spiritual myth, or if a peaceful kingdom truly existed, where humanity is free from war, suffering, and ambition. Do you think this kingdom is real? If so, please comment with the number 8. Number 9. Lhasa, the sacred capital of Tibet. Situated at an altitude of over 3,600 meters above sea level, Lhasa is not only the administrative capital of the Tibet Autonomous Region, but also the spiritual and cultural heart of this legendary land. The name Lhasa in Tibetan means place of the gods, and true to its name, every corner here exudes a sense of the sacred and ancient. The city is also known as the City of Sunshine, boasting over 3,000 hours of sunlight each year. which makes the temperature here much more pleasant compared to the surrounding cold plateau regions. At the center of Lhasa stands the Potala Palace, an architectural marvel that held the title of the tallest building in the world for many centuries, equivalent to a 40-story skyscraper. Inside the Potala is a true labyrinth, with over 1,000 rooms, thousands of statues, and golden stupas. According to statistics, the stupa of the 5th Dalai Lama alone consumed 3.7 tons of gold and over 18,000 precious stones for its completion. This is an immense wealth of assets laid bare, unmatched by many places in the world. If the Potala Palace symbolizes administrative power, then the Yak-Herding Temple is the true spiritual center for the local people. Interestingly, the entire ancient architectural layout of Lhasa is centered around this temple, from which development radiates in all directions. Inside the temple is the 12-year-old statue of Buddha Shakyamuni, regarded by archaeologists and the global Buddhist community as the most sacred relic still in existence. Surrounding the temple is Barkhor Street, an ancient commercial hub and the busiest pilgrimage route in the plateau region. Here, you will witness a distinctive economic phenomenon where shops selling expensive gemstone jewelry are interspersed with streams of pilgrims performing the prostration ritual day and night, creating a striking contrast between material wealth and faith. Another remarkable aspect of Lhasa is its transportation system, connecting it to the outside world via the Qinghai-Tibet Railway. This is the highest railway in the world, traversing areas of permanent frost where even top engineers once believed construction was impossible. To operate this line, all train cars must be equipped with oxygen compression systems and UV protection, meeting standards comparable to those on airplanes. Right in the heart of the modern city, visitors can easily find luxury hotels equipped with building-wide oxygen enrichment systems, creating a stable respiratory environment amidst the thin air. Number 10. How did Tibet become an autonomous region of China? Before becoming the Tibet Autonomous Region of China, Tibet existed as a de facto independent political religious entity during various historical periods. From the early 20th century, Tibet operated almost like a self-governing nation, with its own administrative system, military, currency, and laws. At the helm was the Dalai Lama, who served both as a spiritual leader and as the head of society under a characteristic theocratic model. During this period, Tibet maintained a policy of separation from the outside world, refraining from deep engagement in international relations and not being officially recognized diplomatically by many countries. However, in 1950, the People's Republic of China, under the leadership of Mao Zedong, sent troops into Tibet in a campaign that the Chinese side referred to as peaceful liberation. Faced with a vastly unequal balance of power, the Tibetan government was almost unable to mount an effective resistance. In 1951, the Tibetan government was forced to sign the 17-point agreement, which recognized China's sovereignty over Tibet, in exchange for China's commitment to respect the region's political, religious, and autonomous rights. The 14th Dalai Lama, Tenzin Gyatso, continued to serve as the spiritual leader and participated in internal governance at that time. However, by the late 1950s, Beijing began to push for extensive reform policies, particularly the so-called democratic reforms, aimed at dismantling the theocratic feudal social model of Tibet. These reforms directly impacted the religious, cultural, and traditional life structures that the Tibetan people had maintained for centuries. In 1959, uprisings broke out in Lhasa and several other areas, supported by a large number of Tibetans in opposition to the central government's policies. The uprising was quickly suppressed by the Chinese military. Following this event, the 14th Dalai Lama was forced to flee Tibet and has been in exile in India ever since. This event is seen by many Tibetans as a turning point, marking the complete loss of de facto autonomy for Tibet. In the decades that followed, Tibet has been under strict control from the central government. Notably, there was a period when China regarded religion as a remnant of feudalism and superstition that hindered socialist progress. As a result, many Tibetan monasteries and temples were destroyed, and numerous monks were forced to disrobe. Tibetan Buddhism suffered severe losses both materially and spiritually. Since then, Tibet has undergone significant changes in its economy, society, and infrastructure. However, issues related to cultural identity, religious freedom, and the autonomy of the Tibetan people remain contentious topics that attract international attention. Number 11. Unique places in Tibet. Yamdrok Lake is one of the 3 largest sacred lakes in Tibet, and a place that leaves most first-time visitors to this plateau in awe. The lake is situated at an altitude of about 4,400 meters, more than 100 kilometers south of Lhasa. Viewed from above, Yamdrok does not have a round or oval shape like many other lakes. Instead, it winds like a river. The color of the water changes with the sunlight and weather, sometimes appearing turquoise, at other times deep blue, and on cloudy days, it turns a light gray. The Tibetan people believe that this lake never runs dry, as it is considered the dwelling place of guardian deities. Historically, if Yamdrok were to dry up, they believe that Tibet would enter a period of decline. Surrounding the lake are pastures for Yak-Herding, small villages, and monasteries scattered along the mountainsides, creating a landscape that is both pristine and marked by human presence. Leaving Yamdrok Lake, if you continue westward, you will reach the area of Mount Kailash, a mountain regarded as the most sacred not only in Tibetan Buddhism, but also in Hinduism, Jainism, and the ancient Bon religion. Kailash stands at approximately 6,638 meters. It is not the highest mountain in the Himalayas, but no one has ever been allowed to climb its peak. The shape of Kailash is easily recognizable, with its sharp summit and nearly symmetrical faces, resembling a natural pyramid covered in snow year-round. For devotees, Kailash is not a place to conquer, but a site for pilgrimage. Each year, tens of thousands of people walk around the base of the mountain in a circuit known as the Kora, which is about 52 kilometers long. They believe that completing one circuit can cleanse the sins of a lifetime, while completing 108 circuits will lead to total liberation. Some take a few days to finish, while others may take weeks, but no one turns back midway. Continuing deeper into the high mountains, you will encounter Rongbuk Monastery, the highest monastery in the world, situated at around 5,000 meters above sea level. Rongbuk lies just north of the summit of Everest, and on clear days, the highest peak on the planet can be seen clearly from the monastery's courtyard. This monastery was established in the early 20th century and serves both monks and nuns, which is quite rare in Tibetan Buddhism. Rongbuk is also the last stop before reaching the northern base camp of Everest. Nights here are extremely cold, with temperatures dropping to well below freezing, but the sky is so clear that the Milky Way can be seen with the naked eye. Number 12. Mysterious places in Tibet. In the northern region of Tibet, Namtso Lake, situated at an altitude of over 4,700 meters above sea level, is considered one of the highest saltwater lakes in the world. The point that has sparked much debate about this lake is not its elevation or scenery, but a visual phenomenon that pilgrims and local residents have noted for decades. At certain times, the lake's surface remains clear and unfrozen, with no fog in the sky, yet it almost completely fails to reflect any images. Mountains, clouds, and even people standing at the water's edge do not cast shadows on the surface. This phenomenon does not occur continuously and lacks a clear pattern regarding the time of day or season of the year. Many photography groups have attempted to capture it, but most have not coincided with the right moment. Light measurement devices indicate an unusually low level of reflection compared to actual weather conditions, but no official studies have explained the cause. Tibetans believe this is a sign of a closure between two layers of space, occurring only for those with a certain spiritual foundation. Additionally, at night, some campers around the lake report hearing a low, deep sound resembling a long horn emanating from the lake, often appearing during the pilgrimage season. Researchers have examined the possibility of sound resonance due to the basin's topography and strong winds, but simulation models have failed to produce the consistent and prolonged rhythm described. No unusual seismic or magnetic data has been recorded, leaving this phenomenon without a specific explanation. About 1,000 kilometers west of Namtso lies the ruins of the Guge Kingdom in the Zanda region. This was once a major political and religious center of Tibet from the 10th to the 17th century. Excavations have revealed that Guge had a highly developed system of palaces, monasteries, residences, and underground tunnels. What is perplexing is that the entire kingdom vanished in an extremely short period. There are no signs of a large-scale massacre, no discovered mass graves, and no evidence of destruction by fire or natural disasters. In many of the underground chambers, everyday items remain in their original positions, including agricultural tools, ceramics, dried food, and even religious manuscripts. The murals in the caves depict scenes of daily life, showing no signs of panic or preparation for departure. Nearby historical records barely mention the collapse of Guge, only noting the prolonged silence following a period of vigorous development. Some hypotheses suggest that the people of Guge left the area following religious guidance, but but there is no evidence of a new destination. Other theories propose that they were defeated by external forces, yet archaeology has found no weapons, armor, or corresponding military remnants. To this day, Guge remains a question without a clear answer regarding the fate of the thousands of residents who once lived there. Number 13. Unique festivals of Tibet. Losar, or Tibetan New Year, is the largest and most important festival of the year, typically occurring around February and lasting from 3 to 15 days depending on the region. In the days leading up to Losar, families thoroughly clean their homes, repaint walls, replace prayer flags, and prepare offerings. On New Year's Eve, Tibetans cook a traditional soup called guthuk with 9 different ingredients, hiding symbolic items inside to divine their fortunes for the new year. On the first day of the new year, they wear their finest traditional clothing, visit temples to light butter lamps, pray for peace, and exchange New Year greetings filled with wishes for tranquility. The following days are filled with folk dances, singing, horse racing, archery, and endless butter tea drinking. Losar is not only a time for the transition into the new year, but also an occasion for Tibetans to connect with family, express gratitude to deities, and begin a new cycle of life. A few months after Losar comes Saga Dawa, the festival with the most profound spiritual significance in Tibetan Buddhism, usually falling in May or June. Saga Dawa is associated with 3 major events in the life of Buddha Shakyamuni: his birth, enlightenment, and passing into nirvana. Throughout this month, Tibetans refrain from killing, eat more vegetarian meals, and actively engage in charitable deeds. The most noticeable activity is the pilgrimage around monasteries and sacred sites, with many people performing the prostration ritual over dozens of kilometers. In Lhasa, thousands of new prayer flags are hung, and butter lamps are lit throughout the monasteries. People believe that every good deed performed during Saga Dawa will be multiplied many times, creating an atmosphere that is both solemn and vibrantly lively in this spiritual land. Next is Shotan, also known as the Yogurt Festival, which usually takes place in August. Originally, this was an occasion for people to offer yogurt to monks after their lengthy retreat. Gradually, Shotan evolved into a major cultural festival, intertwined with the art and spiritual life of Tibetans. The most impressive opening event is the ceremony of unfurling a giant Buddha Thangka on the mountainside, typically held early in the morning to avoid sunlight fading the fabric. Tens of thousands of people gather at the foot of the mountain in an almost absolute silence. Afterward, the festival shifts to a joyful atmosphere, with traditional Tibetan opera performances, folk singing and dancing, and outdoor picnics in Norbulinka Park. People bring food, yogurt, and butter tea, sitting with family and friends all day under the trees. Number 14. Must-try dishes. When visiting Tibet, the most commonly encountered dish in Tibet is momo, a type of dumpling that resembles dim sum but is considered a test of adaptability for foreigners. The traditional filling does not include vegetables but is usually stuffed with minced yak or lamb meat mixed with fat, giving it a strong and somewhat gamey flavor. When eaten, locals often dip it in fermented chili sauce and mustard powder, which can be quite pungent for those unaccustomed to it. Momo is so popular that it can be found even in monasteries, but it is regarded as a quick eat, typically consumed for dinner or during long journeys. Next is thukpa, a noodle soup cooked with meat, vegetables, and broth made from bones. A unique aspect of thukpa is that the type of noodle is not fixed. It can be flat, round, cut into pieces, or rolled into balls depending on the region and household. In Lhasa, thukpa is often served with yak meat and thinly sliced local radish. However, in higher regions like Nagwa, many places prepare it with coarsely ground barley flour, making it more like a thick soup than noodles. This dish is most commonly eaten in the morning when temperatures often drop below 5 degrees Celsius. Another intriguing dish is gyurma, sausage made from yak or sheep blood. The casing is cleaned intestines, stuffed with a mixture of blood, barley flour, fat, and spices. Gyurma is usually steamed and then sliced, eaten cold with butter tea. In some areas, people grill gyurma directly over charcoal to achieve a charred exterior. This dish is rarely sold to tourists due to its difficult preservation, but it is very popular during festivals because it can be quickly prepared from readily available ingredients at home. Finally, there is butter tea, the most controversial beverage among Tibetans. First-time drinkers often describe it as salty soup with a milky flavor, as this tea is made with black tea, yak butter, and salt. However, its richness and saltiness help Tibetans stay warm and provide energy in conditions of low oxygen and prolonged cold. Butter tea is consumed daily, and many families even use it as a liquid to mix with roasted barley flour to create a sticky dish that serves as a substitute for rice. Number 15. Tips for traveling in Mongolia. When traveling to Tibet, the first issue many foreign visitors encounter is the matter of travel permits. In addition to a Chinese visa, you are required to have a Tibet travel permit and, in many cases, an alien's travel permit as well. It's important to note that these permits should not be kept in physical form for long. Travelers are often asked to return the permits at domestic airports, checkpoints, or when changing train routes. If you haven't taken a photo of the permits on your phone, you may run into trouble when checking into hotels or moving to other areas, as many places still require verification even if you have legally entered Tibet. Another point to keep in mind is the mandatory tour requirement. Tibet does not allow foreign visitors to travel independently. Some companies may offer low-price tours, only to later cut the itinerary or combine groups in ways that do not match their commitments. A common example is advertising a one-day trip to a distant lake, but in reality, only taking you to a nearby point and then returning, citing weather or security checks as reasons. When signing a contract, be sure to check the names of locations in English or Chinese, as many lakes and monasteries have quite similar names. Another tactic involves the sale of religious items. In pilgrimage areas, vendors often promote bracelets, prayer beads, or amulets that have been blessed by monks. In reality, this blessing does not occur publicly for tourists, and the prices are often inflated many times over. If you try or wear something, the seller may apply psychological pressure by suggesting that not purchasing it will bring bad luck. The best approach is to avoid handling items from the start. Regarding hotels, not all places are permitted to host foreign guests, even if you have made a reservation through an app. Some smaller hotels may accept bookings, but inform you upon arrival that they do not have the necessary permits to register foreign guests. This often happens during peak seasons. You should confirm directly with the hotel before arriving to avoid having to find another place at night when temperatures drop. Finally, concerning photography, there are many areas in Tibet where taking pictures is prohibited, but the signage is not always clear. Some locals may gently remind you, but there are also cases where you may be asked to delete photos on the spot, especially near checkpoints, military barracks, or during ceremonies in monasteries. Maintaining a cooperative attitude and following requests will help you avoid unnecessary trouble. And so, we have just explored 15 interesting facts about Tibet together. I hope the information provided has given you a fresh and clearer perspective on this vibrant country. If you found the video valuable, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell to continue joining us on our upcoming exploration journeys.